Right, this is the special parallelograms review for geometry in construction. So in the first one, we have a rectangle. So ABDC is a rectangle. The measure of angle BAE is 41. We want to find the measure of all the other angles in the rectangle. So we know that rectangles are defined as having 4 right angles. So the 4 corners should add up to 90 degrees. So we can do 90 minus 41, and that's going to give us 49. So we know that this angle down here should be 49. Okay? We know that the diagonals of rectangles are congruent. And since they're parallelograms, they bisect each other. So we know all 4 of these pieces are equal. The lengths of those pieces are equal. So those 4, AE, BE, CE, and DE, those segments are congruent. And so you have 4 isosceles triangles. So we know the base angles of isosceles triangles are congruent. So we can put 49 here. Okay. Alternate interior are congruent, so you can put 49 up here and 49 up here. Right? Rectangles are parallelograms, so opposite sides are parallel. And then we can do 41, 41, and 41. Okay, and then we know the 3 angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So we can do 180 minus 49. Minus 41 minus 41, which is that's minus 82, which is going to give us 98. So the third angle of this triangle is 98. This one would also be 98. And then we can do 180 minus 49. Minus 49, that's minus 98, which is going to give us 82. So then these 2 angles here are 82 and 82. Okay, and that's the angles there for the rectangle. We know then for part B here, it's telling us AE is 4. As we just talked about, though, in part A, the diagonals are congruent, and since it's a parallelogram, the diagonals also bisect each other. So we know all 4 pieces here are going to be equal. So those are all going to be 4, have a length of 4. So we can fill in the rest. AC then is going to be 4 plus 4. So AC is going to be 8. BD is also going to be 8. 4 plus 4 is 8. BE then is 4. And then ED is also 4. So that's the diagonals of a rectangle and the angles on a rectangle. Right, on a rhombus, the next one is a rhombus. So again, we're going to look for all the angles here. So the first thing we should know about a rhombus when it comes to the angles is that the diagonals are perpendicular, which means that they intersect and form right angles. So in the middle here, all 4 angles are going to be 90 degrees. So DEA is 90 degrees, angle AEB is 90 degrees, angle BEC is 90 degrees, and angle DEC is 90 degrees. Okay, they're telling us the measure of angle ADC is 70. The other property we know about the diagonals of a rhombus is that they bisect the opposite angles. So if we bisect the angle, we're splitting it in half. We're splitting it into 2 equal pieces. So each of these small ones here is going to be 35 and 35. We're splitting that 70 in half. Okay, so let me just get rid of the 70. We're splitting it in half to 35 and 35. Okay. We know the 3 angles of a triangle add up to 180, so that's going to allow us to find the last piece we need here. So 180 minus 90 minus 35 is going to give us 55. So we know that this angle here has to be 55. Again, diagonals bisect opposite angles, so if that one's 55, right next to it also has to be 55. Okay, and then because of the triangles, we could also say that this one's 55 and this one's 55, which means we're going to end up with 35 and 35 over here as well. Okay, and those are the angles of the rhombus. That's what the pattern is going to look like every time. It might not be 35 and 55. It might be 34 and 56, 20 and 70. But that's the pattern that you're going to see every single time. Right, the sides, or I'm sorry, the diagonals here. So DB is 8. Okay, we know the rhombus is a parallelogram, so the diagonals bisect each other, so they split each other in half. So that's going to be 4 and 4. Okay, and then AE is 3. So since AE is 3, EC is also 3. The diagonal gets bisected by DB. We can then fill in our missing pieces here. So DE was 4, and then AC would be 3 plus 3, which is okay. All right, let's go to number 3. So a square is going to look the same, right? So a square is a rhombus, so it's got 90, 90, 90 in the middle. Okay, it's a rectangle, so the angles should all on the corner should add up to 90. Right? And since it's a rhombus, the diagonals are bisected. I'm sorry, the diagonals bisect those opposite angles. So if you bisect a 90-degree angle, you split it into 2 equal pieces, so 45 and 45. So we then know that each of these small angles is going to be 45. 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, and then 45, 45. And that's a square. That's what all squares look like. They might be bigger or smaller, but that's what all the angles will always be in a square. All right, and then the last one here is an isosceles trapezoid. So we know an isosceles trapezoid, the legs A, B, and C, D are going to be congruent. And then the bases are the sides that are parallel. So here BC would be parallel to AD. Right, if we know the measure of angle BAD here is 70 degrees, we know the base angles of an isosceles trapezoid are congruent. So if BAD is 70, then CDA is also 70. Right? And then we know the angles between the bases, so between the parallel lines, are supplementary. So we can do 180 minus 70, and that's going to be 110. So we can say angle ABC is 110, and angle BCD is 110. Okay, so ABC, measure of angle ABC would be 110. Measure of angle BCD would be 110, and the measure of angle CDA is 70. All right, the last piece here are the diagonals. We know the diagonals are congruent. So if AC is 21, then BD, the other diagonal, is also going to be equal to 21. Okay, and that's the quadrilaterals review. We went through the three special parallelograms, the rhombus, the rectangle, the square, and then the isosceles trapezoid here.